In today's episode, we're talking about letting go and moving on in order for you to have money and abundance. Let's find out why. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today we're talking about a topic that's really close to my heart. And I've experienced it personally really recently myself. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity for me to bring it to your attention. So we're talking about ways to let go, or the reason why you need to let go and move on, and why this is important in order for you to have abundance in your finances, in your health, and your relationships. And for some of you, this is going to hit hard, and some of you have been asking for a sign or something, and I think the universe is speaking to you through me, and I really want you to take heed of today's episode. It's really close to my heart, and I'm going to share a background with you why I'm doing this topic. I recently had to let go of someone very close to me, actually a number of people very close to me, and this was a very difficult decision for me to make, but I did make it, and I'm much better for it. So I'm going to share this with you. So I'm going to share a quote by, I wish I could give credit to this person, but I don't know who said this, and it's unknown, but it's an amazing quote. And I want you to pay attention to what he says, or she, could have been she. And the quote is, there are things that we never want to let go of, people we never want to leave behind. But keep in mind that letting go isn't the end of the world. It's the beginning of a new life. And this quote really hit me hard when I read it. And I thought, yeah, I want to share this with you guys. I really want you to experience this energy shift that I've recently experienced. So, give you my example of what happened to me recently. I'm someone I'm very close to. It's one of my closest relatives, and there are a number of people that I'm letting go of, but this one particular person, I actually love and adore her, and we just are not on the same mental plane anymore. We just not. I still love and respect her and everything, but we are not. Our minds are not meeting, and it's to the point where our conversations began to feel very toxic to me, and maybe to her too, to the point that I had to say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go, and I'm going to pull myself back. And I sent her lots of love and blessings, but I let her go. And I was really upset when I initially let her go, and the decision to let go of this person was very hard, especially because she's not a mean person, she's not horrible. We just got into a very difficult situation where we began to be toxic. Well, I really began to feel that she was toxic for me. And in order to protect my energy, I pulled back. And it was really the right decision to make, because as soon as I let go of her, my energy returned and I became upbeat again. I became optimistic and happy again. So I knew that was a validation from the universe that I made the right decision. But that decision itself was really hard. So I'm going to give you a number of reasons why you may need to let go, and then I'm going to tell you ways to let go. So let's talk about the reasons why you may need to let go of some things. So very first is the one I've shared with you. Someone's negativity is rubbing off on you. So you could be, you could be someone who's actually generally optimistic, but however, if you are surrounded by negative or toxic people, then their negativity is going to rub off on you. You are the average of the people you spend the most time with. So in order for you to have a greatest impact on the world, you need to be surrounded by people who are going to have a positive impact on you. And this is important for you to remember. And it could be that someone at a particular time, wasn't as negative, but they are now. So that could be it. And this leads on to the second point. It could be that you've grown apart from someone. Now, I know this happened to me when it came to my childhood friends. There are a number of people who I still love and adore from my school, from my college, but we are no longer in sync. My ideas of life are very different from them. My ideas of what I want is very different from them. I'm more into, I suppose, business and that kind of world, and buying and acquiring businesses and building different asset classes and talking about money is very it's normal for me. That's my normal conversation. Whereas a lot of the people from my childhood, especially my school, they're not in that same bracket. They're quite happy, content with, you know, the 9 to 5s, and they're quite happy, you know, with their you know, the houses and the cars where they are at the moment. And so they don't have the ambition that I do. They don't have the drive that I do, and therefore I don't feel I can connect with them as much. So as much as I love and adore them still, I feel we've grown apart. And this is quite normal for most people. So you could be that you've grown apart from someone. And it doesn't matter, you know, how much you explain a certain thing to some people, they just don't get your core values. And you find that eventually you've pulled away. And this probably happened with this cousin of mine too, that we, as much as I love and adore this person, we are, apart from the fact that the conversations became toxic, I think we are on different planes and we're not on the same cycle anymore, or mental plane at the moment anymore. So hence I had to let go. Now, this is something, you know, when it comes to people, but there are other reasons why you may need to let go. And I think this is equally important. It could be that you are maybe currently really unhappy in your current circumstances. Now, this could be a job, this could be a business, and it could be either or one of those things. And I think this is where I know in the entrepreneurial world, we talk about grinding, we talk about persevering, we talk about moving forward. But there are times when you have to realize you have to cut your losses and move on. And you just really have to do that. I remember there's my personal instance that I had, what I can share with you guys, was back in 2011. I set up this care home with another one of my cousins, and he had led me to believe that he knew how to get clients and he knew to do everything. And unfortunately, that was not the case when we got into business together. So I brought in a lot of money, invested a lot of money, and I had to go through a sharp learning curve to actually even register the business. So I went through and learned and registered a business with the CQC and everything else. But the crucial element, which I kept asking about, and he said, no, don't worry about it. Getting clients is the easy part. We can get clients. When we came to the crunch and actually getting clients, we weren't able to get them. And then we carried on going for a good year and a half. We tried different strategies, and we just couldn't break through. We were in the Burberry Bridge at the time. So that's a close-knit community, and there's a lot of handshaking going on and the kind of politics which I wasn't aware of. So after coming, I think it ended up being 2 years. After 2 years, I had to close that business and let it go. We actually sold it to someone for £1, and hopefully, you know, hope that they could move ahead with it. I don't know what happened with it. Eventually, I let go. I didn't want to think about it. But that's the business that really comes to mind when I worked really, really hard. Put God knows how many hours into learning and getting ourselves registered, having all the accreditations and God knows what else with it. But eventually we had to let go because that business wasn't viable. The universe did not want us to move ahead in that direction. And looking back in hindsight, I'm glad I took that decision, even after a bit later than I should have. 2 years later, I closed that business and we moved on. So there are times when you're going to start something and you're going to put your heart and soul into it. And it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to get ahead with that career, that profession, or that business. So you need to know when it's time to stop, you know, giving more energy and moving on. So you have to let go. And you never know. Why does it happen? I honestly don't know. All I can say is if you have the faith that I do, and if you really believe that everything happens for you, not to you, then you know that there's a reason why that business don't work out, and that God or universe has better things planned for you. So that's how you really move on with that particular point. It could be the fact, I mean, I have also seen another reason could be that, you know, as it is in the case for me, when I first became a lawyer, I had you know, some goals in mind and so forth. And then when I decided to have a family, that really ambitious, career-oriented woman took a back seat, and all I wanted to do was look after my children. So you know, your goals can change. So again, I had to let go of my identity as a lawyer, and I took on the identity of a homemaker, and, you know, being a stay-at-home mom and looking after my kids. And I did that because my goal at the time had changed. However, after my separation and necessity to, I started, you know, I when it was time for me to, you know, be the breadwinner again, I chose not to go back into law, even though I had studied so hard. Being dyslexic, I had to work extra hard and study extra hard. but my goals had changed now. So again, I had to let go of my identity as a lawyer and see what else I can do. And by then I had, delved into the realms of energy healing and, all the different modalities when it comes to energy clearings and energy shifting and mindset work. And I took on the role of a healer and an energy healer, and that has served me very, very well. In recent times, once again, my goals have changed once again. I no longer just want to be a coach. I no longer want to be an energy healer. I want to be part of my identity, not just the main part. So I had to let go of going. I can easily make this business into 100 million business. It's other people have, and I know for a fact that if I stick to this business, it can go down that path. But I no longer am invested in this business in that way. I still want to help, I still want to coach, but not, I don't want to take it to the 100 million mark anymore. I want to do this as a passion project and do other things which are calling out to me. So this is an example of, when your goals change, and goals can change. So again, you have to let go of your old goals that you may have, or old businesses you may have. So it may mean that you have to change your profession. I know for a fact there are a number of lawyers who've changed professions, accountants have changed professions, and there are obviously doctors who've left and gotten changed professions. And it's perfectly fine. You can have, you can let go of your own identity. You can let go of your old version of yourself in order for you to move on to the higher, new version of yourself. So this is another very powerful aspect of letting go and moving on. And especially when you listen to your higher self calling out to you. So for example, if you're currently a doctor and your higher self is calling out to a different profession, maybe business or maybe something else, then that's your higher self saying, that's the next challenge for you. That's what I want you to do. So you have to let go of your current identity as a lawyer and move into identity as a business person. Make sense? So that's something else. Another reason why you may need to let go is if fear is holding you back. So part of letting go and moving on is facing our fears and disappointments from the past, that are currently binding your spirit. And this could be in the respect, if I talk about relationships, one of the reasons that I get asked is, I've been now divorced for 6 years. Why is it that I haven't moved on to a new relationship? And honestly, I can say is, I used to give the excuse, well, I'm too busy with kids and work and so forth. But I think the main reason was I wasn't ready to let go of that fear of getting back into a narcissistic relationship, into a painful relationship. So I was holding on to the pain of my past, and for that reason kept putting off having any relationships in the present or the future. So this could be another reason why. And I'm talking to you about in terms of relationship. You may have this in terms of doing a business or having some sort of business. So it could be that you've tried a business in the past and you've got your hands burnt, or you tried a partnership in the past and the partner betrayed you or frauded you or somehow, and now you're no longer willing to start a new business because still afraid that whoever you start business with, or if you may lose money in business, or if you start business with someone, they could defraud you so again, in order for you to move past your past experiences, in order for you to move ahead and get over your past experiences, you're going to have to let go of your what's happened and any fear that's accumulated because of it. You have to understand that whatever happened in the previous years or months gone by has given you a lesson, and this lesson has made you wiser, and you will no longer make the same mistakes. You've become wiser in terms of you judging people's characters and being able to spot as someone not playing by the book and so forth. So there are a number of ways that you are now a lot wiser than you were before, and therefore you can move ahead with patience, right? So if you've had a bad experience from the past, then you maybe have to let go of that before you can move ahead and make a success of your life in your business or personal relationship, in my case. Yeah, so something else could be it. Another one is a lot of the times, if you are still complaining about the past, so you're still living in the past, so you're complaining about why did this happen to me? And why did why was I my parents, why did my parents do more for me? Why can this happen for me? And I caught myself not necessarily living in the past, but in terms of my father, I had to let go of certain aspect of my father, the expectation, because it wasn't my expectation. I think it was people around me, because my father died very, very well off. He died a millionaire, but he didn't give a single penny to me and my brother. And I had to let go of that expectation that he should have done. He should be more fair with his children. He everything he had, he left to his 2 children from his second marriage, and his first marriage, which is my brother and I. We got absolutely zero from nothing. We got absolutely nothing from him. And sometimes you just have to let go of that past. You have to let go of that expectation in the past. In my case, I think at one point I really had to let go, and I did this quite early on actually, is why did I have 2 failed marriages rather than 1? Why was it that I went through 2 abusive marriages? Being the first one was physically abusive, and the second one is actually worse, which is emotionally and financially abusive. And I had to realize that bailed me up, and I had to let go. Until I let go, and I did let go of this, until I let go of these hurt feelings, I wasn't able to move ahead in my business. I wasn't. I've shared this with you guys in the previous episodes, that the whole of 2017 I spent working on my own money blocks, working on my own self, and letting go of all of this hurt and the pain that was coming to me from both marriages. And only once I let go of it, only once I worked through my toxic money, was I able to make money and I have a successful business. And then alhamdulillah, from then onwards, I've had multiple successful businesses and I've gone on to do really, really well. But I had to let go of that pain first. And this is another example why your past pains can be holding your money hostage too. And I've done an episode on that too. So if you haven't listened to that, go back into one of the previous episodes and listen to that. Another one could be something, an old grudge is still hurting you. So I realized, again, most of these things came up when I was working through my past experiences with my brother and my relatives. So I remember this one grudge that I was surprised at, that I had to let go, when that was for my brother and my sister-in-law, and the way they treated me when I was living with them. They wouldn't let me move out the house. So my brother didn't allow me to move out. And the only way I can move out was to get married. But when I was living there, my sister-in-law at the time made my life a living hell. She really did. And most of it through toxic conversations with my brother. It was awful. I mean, I love my brother to bits now, but at the time it was awful, awful, awful. And I realized, this is again back in 2017, that I still hadn't let go. And that was 2017. And the last time I lived with them was in 2005. So I realized I had carried on the negativity from there, and the old grudge was still hurting me. So I had to let go of that. So you have to really do internal work and say, where am I holding on to past pain and hurt, and why am I not letting go? There could be a number of reasons why not letting go, but if you don't let go, you can't move forward. And if you can't move forward, you can't be successful. It's simple as that, right? And one of the other things, a reason why you need to let go is, if you don't let go, if you still keep looking at the pain from a particular incident, you're not looking at the lesson. Everything that happens to you for a reason, okay? Everything's happening for you, not to you. And if you still think that something happened to you, you're not taking the lessons from that particular incident. You're not taking the lessons from that particular, circumstance. And therefore, you are still stuck in the past. Right? So in order for you to move forward, you have to let go of this past pain. You have to let go of this old pain. You have to let go of this old memory. You have to let go of this expectation of yourself in the past. So sometimes we need to let go of ourselves, our expectations of ourselves. Like, why didn't I know better? Why did I allow myself to do this? Why did I fall into this trap? And so forth and so forth. We have to let go of what we expect from ourselves as well. We did the best we could in the circumstances at hand. And I find when I look back at my life, I was more harsh with myself compared to anybody else. And so the most forgiveness I had to do was on myself, and the things I had to let go for were things the decisions that I had made, and then the things that I have done. A lot of the time I did make my decisions, allowed other people to make decisions for me. A point that I'm very, very adamant about, that from now, from back from 2016 onwards, I have been making my decisions myself. No one else gets to make any of my decisions, right or wrong. I'll take the responsibility for them, but nobody else makes my decisions. But beforehand, I did allow other people to make really, really important decisions for me, like who I was going to marry, both times. And that was not something that was acceptable to me. Anyway, the point is, you have to let go. If I hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am today. Right? So, you live through life experiences, and everything in the past, whether you like it or not, is a lesson. Even my most recent experience of going to Pakistan recently, I got to see a side of my extended family that I didn't know even existed, to be honest. And I'm not one for family politics, and there was a lot of family politics that went on here, and it was shocking to me that people could behave in this manner. But, in one way I could say, okay, it was very painful. I had gone after 17 years and people behaving that way. But on the other hand, and this is the way I choose to believe, that it was the universe's way of showing me what the world is really like. And for me to become more aware, because I do walk around with rose-tinted glasses, that people are lovely and everyone's amazing. And most people that I attract to myself are amazing human beings. Absolutely, they are. But there are people like that in the world too. And I need to be aware of that. Unfortunately, somewhere on the lines, I sort of had blind faith in some people. Obviously, that's been removed now. And so I recently, got a very harsh lesson from life, but it's a lesson, and it's worth it, because it's going to save me a lot of heartache in the coming years, months and years. So that's what I've taken as a lesson, as a very harsh but very important lesson. So this is the important part of letting go. So that question is, well, okay, Gull, you're telling me to let go. How can I let go? I'm going to give you a few tips too, in terms of how you can let go and how I've done it in the past. So, but the very first thing I want you to understand is, whatever's happened. So using my trip to Pakistan as an example, I am not bitter about what happened in that incident. I'm not bitter about spending all that money into paying for the flights, the flight ticket, and the time I spent and so forth in Pakistan. I've taken it as a lesson, and I'm extremely thankful for it. So accept what happened and show gratitude for it, because there is some element of goodness that comes out of everything. So there's something I learned from Bob Proctor. He said, whatever happens to you, there's equal amount of good in it as well as bad. And if you think something's really, really good, there'll be equal amount of evil in there too. So things are always in balance in nature. So yes, this was, on one hand, a really, really horrible experience that I had recently. On the other hand, it's taught me so much. So I've accepted the truth that this is c'est la vie, this is life, this is the way things are. But at the same time, I'm just so blessed to be given so many opportunities and ways to better understand human nature and to move forward. So this is something really, really powerful. So this is something I suggest you do, is accept the truth as it is, and then show gratitude to the universe for becoming aware of that truth, right? The next one is, and this is very, really important, whatever it is, especially if it's people, you need to let them go. But before you do that, build some distance between yourselves and them. So there are some people that I just can't stop talking to altogether, and that's family members, extended family members. So if you have family members or people in your life that you just cannot avoid, maybe work colleagues, what you can do is cut cords with them. It's a technique that I teach quite frequently. And, if you want to learn that, come along to one of our workshops, which is moneymindsetmakeoverworkshop.com. So go and log on to this website, www.moneymindsetmakeoverworkshop.com. That's moneymindsetmakeoverworkshop.com, and see when the next workshop's taking place and come along and join me. On day one, I'll give you this tool, which is cord cutting. this is a really, really powerful tool where you can distance yourself energetically with the individuals and cut negative cords between yourself and them. And then and then you make physical distance between yourself and them. So for example, some of my people that I've cut cords with, I will not be talking to them very, very frequently anymore. And there are other people's in my relatives who I doubt if I ever will meet them again. I mean, I'm not going to go Pakistan again. So if I'm not going to go Pakistan again, it's highly likely that I will meet them again. Then it's not like they're going to come to UK. And there are other members of my family who are in Manchester and so forth, who I've cut cords with, and I know I'll bump into them at a particular wedding or some other occasion, good or bad, or maybe a death or wedding, usually we're death or a wedding. So a funeral or wedding rather. So then again, I will see them for a very short period of time and then move on. So, I've cut cords with them. So I've created energetic distance from them, but at the same time, create physical distance for people for a while. And you may find that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes physical distance is enough for you to let bygones be bygones and for you to move ahead and maybe create your relationship from a new standpoint. Okay. So that's the next one. Another one is, another way to let go, especially if you have something to do with your business, and that is to focus on what can be changed. So I have grown most of my business on Facebook, and I've been very vocal about it. And I said, okay, fair enough. I've been talking about and dealing with Facebook for the longest time, but it's time for change. It really is time for change. So now I need to move from Facebook onto some other platform, and I am looking into other platforms. And that's it. I've taken my focus from one space, from one platform to another platform. And that's what I'll be working on. That's what I'll be focusing on. And that's what I'll be working towards. Just because one door has closed doesn't mean there's no other doors. You need to realize that in life, there's always other doors that can be open to you or currently have open to you. Just you're too focused on that one particular door that closed. It doesn't matter. Let it go. Right? So change your focus and work on what can be, what can help you in your current circumstance, be it professionally or personally. So change your focus, and that's important, right? And the next one is something that I think is very, very important is you need to claim, you need to claim ownership of your life. You need to be in control of your life. If you are not in control of who you are and what you're doing, then you are living by default, by living by other people's standards. You're living by what other people are doing. So in your life, you need to understand that you are fully responsible for everything that shows up in your life, good, bad, and ugly. And I remember doing this quite early on when I took responsibility for what happened with my marriage, and I looked back at my life and I realized I had manifested my mother's exact life. I realized, oh shoot, I've done this, and I took full responsibility for it. Whatever the circumstances, wherever led me down that path, I had done it. I had created that scenario. So because I took ownership of it, I thought, okay, if I can manifest this, I can manifest anything. Then I went ahead and manifested something amazing. And that is my current life, right? So that cannot happen if you are blaming other people for what shows up to your life. So if you're still blaming your husband for what's going on in life, you're still blaming your wife for what's going on in life, you're still blaming your parents for that matter, what's going on in your life, then you are not taking personal responsibility for the way your life is and the way things are showing up in your life. You have to take personal responsibility for everything showing up in your life and know that you can deal with it. No, this too shall pass and you can deal with it. Yeah. And this takes me on to the next point, that you need to be focused always around where you are internally. If you are not taking personal responsibility for your life, you're not going to be focused in terms of inside of you. What are you thinking? How are you talking to yourself? This conversation that you have every single day and multiple times during the day with yourself is probably the most important conversation you're going to have. But if you're unaware of the fact that you are having this internal dialogue, then it's going to be very difficult for you to accept that this is that you are creating your life, or the fact that you can change your life. When you take personal responsibility, you start looking inwards and you say, okay, well, how am I thinking about this? How am I believing about this? What about in me is making this external reality real for me? That's when you realize, okay, this is how this works. I'm thinking negatively, this is why this is showing up. I'm behaving this way, this is why this is resulted here. You get focused on your inner world and you start seeing the connection between the external world. Keep in mind, everything external that's showing up for you is a direct reflection of what's going on internally for you. So your internal world creates your external reality. If that's the case, then you have to be aware that it's your internal world, your inner world, which you need to focus on in order to change your external reality. Yeah. So this is important. Another one, reason why you need to let go, another way to let go rather, would be to, just sometimes, like as I said in the case of my cousin, he just let go of them. You just let go of some people. You just change the people around you. So you stop hanging out with a particular group of people. You stop hanging around with your school friends. You stop hanging around with the work colleagues. You stop hanging around with your cousins. You stop hanging around with certain people who bring you down, who make you feel negative about yourself, or you have negative relationship with them, and just let them be. There are 8 billion people on this planet. Go spend your time, your limited time, with those who are going to celebrate you, whose eyes are going to light up when they see you. So why do you want to spend that time with somebody? I don't care if it's your cousin, if it's a friend, if it's a childhood friend, if it's your sibling. If someone doesn't value you, someone isn't celebrating who you are, then you should not be spending majority of your time with them. Okay. So this is something that you need to know. You are valuable. You are amazing. And if people around you are not celebrating who you are, then you need to change the people around you. Simple as that. Okay. I know this is easier than done, but with the tools I've given you, which I can give you, cord cutting, which is from the workshop, and today's podcast will help you identify who in your life needs to be eliminated, or who in your life you need to reduce time with in order for you to be successful, in order for you to be happy, in order for you to move on. Yeah. And finally, I'm going to ask you is, when you let go and you stop living in the past, I also want you to stop living in the future. I want you to live in today. This is something that I've learned in quantum physics. The only moment that matters is today. Your past doesn't matter. Your future doesn't matter. The only day that's important right now, actually not in the day, the only moment that's important right now is the moment at hand. So get really focused on today, on now, on your current life, okay? That's the only thing that you can actually change. And I've done a podcast episode on this, on why how your today is being created by your past thoughts, and how your today's thoughts are creating your tomorrow and the future. So get very clear as to how you're going to spend today, and what are you going to spend what are you going to spend today thinking about, and what are you going to use today for, and how are you going to use today to create tomorrow and the day after, right? So that's my today's topic about letting go to create abundance. I hope you got value from that. If you did, please do leave us a review. And if you want to come and learn more about working with me, and especially learn the tools that I have, then please join us for our next upcoming workshop, which is www.moneymindsetmakeoverworkshop.com. That's www.moneymindsetmakeoverworkshop.com. I look forward to going through this cord cutting tool with you on day 1, and then and giving you other tools in the rest of the days. Well, until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.